Hey, it's Avi from JustWriteMusic.com. May the 4th be with you. We're going to do things a little bit differently today in honor of our de facto Star Wars holiday. I want to give the music of Star Wars a little bit of context and describe how it was ultimately the victory bell in a battle waged against its very existence as an art form. Okay, that was a little bit dramatic, but people were like, film music. You know what I mean? If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and bell below for more videos helping you stay sane as an artist and just write some damn music already. When movies were still in their infancy, they weren't necessarily considered high art, whatever that means. By extension, people who worked in film also weren't necessarily thought of very highly. In fact, historically, acting was not traditionally a very respected profession. But as movies matured and it became clear that movies weren't going anywhere, there was, of course, pushback. There was an idea going around this time, especially in the composer circle, that basically was really devaluing the composers who were working in film and the music that they composed and scored for film. And this brings me to my first point. These composers basically were saying that film music wasn't real music. Yeah. This sounds really weird to us today, especially if we're talking about orchestra music, which many of us consider the most real music, I guess. In the sense that movies and TV shows are predominantly where people interact with orchestra music these days. So it's just funny the way things work out. Who is and who isn't a real composer is, believe it or not, a real thing in academia. This whole concept is asinine, though. Who determines what's real and what isn't? A bunch of white guys at a bunch of universities? That sounds awful. This argument at its heart is really just a bunch of saber rattling by some old folks who don't like the new hot thing. It's a tale as old as time. Remember that time Socrates thought everyone was going to forget how to remember things because people were doing this crazy new thing called writing things down? Yeah, that was a thing. So already, this is an annoyingly pretentious argument made by annoyingly pretentious people. Lovely. And the answer from people at large and the public at large were so what? Okay. Who cares? Music made films better, so they kept getting scores. There's not much to it there. It's just, I don't know, guys. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around the argument. Not to mention the proliferation of movies and the cultural significance that it adopted over time made it a pretty great way to make a living as a composer. So no one's real. You can't make money and write music. Doesn't work. Unless, you're getting a commission from the Met. Then it's okay. I don't know what that bass was, I'm sorry. This was an interesting phenomena though, because by the mid-20th century, film music and classical music of the time sounded pretty different. A lot of the grand sweeping scores used very accessible music. They used a lot of tonal harmony, a lot of functional harmony. And, this is at the same time, real composers wouldn't be caught dead writing those types of harmonies or using any type of tonality. They were all writing minimalist music and weird beginning soundscape stuff, I guess, in the 60s. And, the serial music and atonal music and all that stuff. Which it's there, I guess. It's got some value, sure. Someone please tell me what it is, though, down in the comments. We have this really interesting phenomena going on, this really interesting sort of relationship between filmmakers, composers who score for film, and other composers who don't score for film, who think the composers who score for film are not real composers. So enter George Lucas, John Williams, and classical music. It should come as no surprise that film music was and continues to be heavily influenced by classical music. Star Wars is often the preeminent example in this regard, proven by all the videos comparing all the similarities and, I guess not differences, all the similarities between the Star Wars score and a host of different classical pieces. So clearly, John Williams is a plagiarist, am I right? No. Not only was this really common, I saw a documentary that even detailed that Lucas had specific pieces in mind that he told John Williams to go and listen to and say, hey, I really love this vibe, I want this for the score. That's super common to do today. In fact, it's worse than today. They get the stock music, sometimes from another movie, and then tell a composer when they hire them, hey, we don't want necessarily an original score. Our original score, just make it exactly like the demo music, but like change it just enough so it's not plagiarization. And that's not the composer's fault. I'm sure these composers want to write much more varied scores, but it's just what Hollywood studios and what producers and filmmakers think works for film, and those trends change over time. One particular piece that a lot of people like to mention when comparing Star Wars to classical music is The Planets by Gustav Holst. Particularly the Mars, what is that? What movement is that? The third movement? Second movement? With its warlike stuff.
Now listen to Star Wars. It's uncannily similar.
There's nothing wrong with having influences. Just let's take everything down a notch, you guys. It's completely fine. It's not what you think it is. This is just the way music progresses over time and the way music is innovated upon. This clearly is not like a bad faith reproduction. You know what I mean? It's like just a dude saying this rules and I want this in my movie. This type of inspiration is really common among composers, and it's how we develop our own voice while also innovating upon what's already been done. Film music is just another natural progression of that, just like ballet and opera before it. In fact, John Williams draws heavily on those forms, specifically opera. If you're watching a Star Wars video, I'm sure you've heard Star Wars be compared to literally just a space opera. The thing to really take note here is John Williams' use of leitmotif. A leitmotif is basically the musical theme that is attached to a specific character or a specific place. So for example, there's Han and Leia's theme, there's like the inspiring Star Wars theme from Tatooine, there's the Imperial March, there's the main theme, right? So all of these things are attached to really specific entities in the music. Another great example of leitmotif in film is The Lord of the Rings. Rivendell has a theme, the Shire has a theme, Mordor has a theme, the Hobbit, there's a Hobbit theme that's different from the Shire necessarily, then there's like the main Lord of the Rings theme. Like, it's a great thing to do. It's awesome. I think it's just called good film scoring. Star Wars wasn't just a great movie, however, it took the planet by storm. It was a massive phenomena that was just nothing had ever come before it. It took the planet by storm and forever shaped the way films and music for films would be made. And this is where the victory bell rings. Star Wars claims victory. Most people you meet are probably familiar with one of the Star Wars themes. They probably heard it, even if they've never actually seen any of the movies. This goes for more than just Star Wars 2, Indiana Jones, The Lord of the Rings, Back to the Future, James Bond, National Treasure, the Avengers movies. Yeah, there's more than one of them. Harry Potter. Harry Potter's another one. Another really, really good one. Yeah. That's a good one. Oh my God. And guess what? John Williams has written a lot of these themes. It's very clear that he has become a force in the film scoring community. The way he scores his films has resonated. All of these movies are following in Star Wars' footsteps, especially from a film scoring point of view. The sad thing is that the same can't be said for classical music, especially not anymore. It's ironic that film scores were once not even considered real music, and that today they are predominantly how most people are introduced to classical instrumentation. Sure, there are some holdouts like Ode to Joy, but by and large, if you ask someone off the street to give you, the name of a piece that uses an orchestra, they're probably gonna start naming movie titles. There's nothing wrong with this. This is fine. It's just the way culture evolved, right? That's fine. And I also want to be clear that George Lucas and John Williams, they didn't necessarily do anything new here either. There were plenty of grand sweeping epics that used things like leitmotif before them. One guy, Henry Mancini, who was a really popular film scorer in the 50s and 60s. Some of the most beautiful scores you can imagine were written by this guy. And these are themes and melodies that are still resonating in the public consciousness. Think like Breakfast at Tiffany's. The proliferation of movies in our culture and the proliferation of its music along with it actually helped keep orchestra music and classical instrumentation in the public consciousness. Just take a look at all of the orchestras who are touring on playing video game music and film music. I mean, maybe not touring right now, but they were touring before and they're going to tour again. But the point is, they're not touring on Beethoven or Mendelssohn or Brahms. They're touring on Howard Shore and Joe Hisaishi and freaking, you know what, no, those, I'm just gonna say those. That's enough. Those are both amazing composers who write music in such a way that moves me to tears. That's not real though. Nothing caught the public imagination quite like Star Wars did in 1977. The Star Wars music is so incredibly special because it was part of this phenomenon. It brought film music and this type of grand epicness to millions of people throughout the world and inspired millions of people to write their own music, to say that sounds so cool, I want to do that for myself. And I know because I was one of them. Well, there you have it. That's my take on the Star Wars music and its legacy. Do you love the music from Star Wars or any of the other films that I mentioned? Or maybe you think John Williams and all those other composers are plagiarists and they should all be in jail. Well, you might as well put all of us in prison then. Let me know down in the comments. If you're looking to step up your melody game, check out my free guide, 7 Ways to Write a More Effective Melody. There, I give you proven tools to help you workshop those melodies and help you come out on whatever side of the Force you want to be on. I'm a Gray Jedi. Speaking up, gray all the way. Head to justwritemusic.com. There's a link down in the doobly-doo. Thank you guys so much for being here and for spending this time with me. Regular videos come back on Thursdays next week. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and may the 4th be with you. Peace out.